Hello, everyone. Welcome to what is this, the sixth session for the
Seven, I
Cardano budget
believe.
open process? Yes. Today we are going to receive the Membership and Community Committee and the Open Source Committee of Intersect. And we are going to do two little brief presentations and we are going to open to the questions and answers. But before we start, I would love to give you guys a little bit of the meeting principles that we usually have on each of these calls. First of all, let's propose a focused discussion and format. One speaker at a time. Please raise your virtual hand, or if you are not comfortable enough raising your hand and speaking in a microphone, feel free to paste your question in the chat with a prefix question in capital letters so we are more easily able to find anything that you have written so far, and we are able to propose and read those questions out loud for the people who are here presenting. Um, Please try to stay on topic. This is about the budget process and implementation. Today, we're going to focus, of course, on the analysis of the MCC and the OSC. And let's keep a time box question for around 2 minutes for your questions and around 2 minutes for an answer. And please wait to be called by a moderator once you have your hand raised. Um, People are allowed to have one follow-up after they ask their first question, so we are able to keep this on a fixed time manner. Today's session is set up to max of 1 hour. However, me specifically, I am able to stay a lot longer if needed to help everyone. And I do hope the uh, representatives of the MCC, I do know Nori has a hard stop, but is able to stay, Lawrence as well, to be able to answer questions about the budget. So if you want to stay a little bit longer and answer your questions later, feel free to do so. For engagement guidelines, please maintain a professional tone, be respectful towards everyone in here, do not interrupt, and wait for questions to be finished before you say anything. Let's focus on solutions and not problems today. And let's all respect diverse viewpoints because not necessarily what we believe in is the best for everybody else. Today's agenda is about, as I said, the MCC and the OSC. The first 5 minutes are going to be brief updates and context of everything as I am giving now. The 35 minutes that follow up are going to be a presentation about the MCC and the questions that may follow up their presentation and any questions the community might have for them. As soon as they are done, the OSC is going to step up. Tex is going to give a presentation on the Open Source Committee of Intersect, and the same process will follow as did for the MCC. Questions and answers. And the last 5 minutes of the session, we're going to open to talk about the next steps and the announcements of Intersect and, of course, Cardano governance. Thank you so much, everyone. I want to invite Nori to start presenting. Please feel free to do so. Are you able to do that?
Yep. Thanks, Laura.
You're
And
welcome.
just as we get started here, I just want to do some introductions. My name is Nori Nishigaya. I am the chair of the MCC. Um, and today, I think we also have other members of the MCC here. I think I saw Katerina and Matthew in the participants list. So there's a few of us here, and of course, Tex is our secretary. And the entire group as a whole has been working very hard on trying to get some high level categories and deliverables set for the MCC in regards to the budget. So this is kind of a high level presentation of what that is to date. And we are very open and welcoming any feedback, comments, contributions. And we'll get into that a little bit on how you can participate. But just to jump in really quickly, the MCC purpose is really around creating engaging events, community grants, enhancing membership value, and that's a big one. We think about that all the time. Education and outreach, fostering a thriving Cardano community, membership and community support, thinking about collaborative best practices and community hubs. And some of these have been funded through 2024 grants. Other ones are kind of in incubation phases and various stages of development. Some of them are happening in working groups. Actually, most of these are happening in working groups. So if you really want to get involved in any of these areas, a working group would be a great place to jump in. and just talking about ways to participate. Um, if you want to directly participate on the MCC itself, we're going to have elections in April. We'll be replacing half of our seats. So there'll be 5 positions up for election in April, and you can join. We just had 5 new members join us this past month, so it's great to see a bunch of people stepping up and contributing there. Another way is to join a working group. Currently, we have the marketing working group. The AMM working group just went on hiatus until I think May, and we'll be firing that up again as we get closer to the AMM for next year. There's a group design working group, grants working group, community support, and community hubs. And all of these are kind of, they have their own little areas under the MCC category in Discord. So that's the primary place to go to communicate is the MCC Discord. And then we also welcome you to join or create a SIG. Special interest groups, there's a number right now under the MCC space. There's the governance transparency, meme coin interest, decentralized education, fundraising, election outreach, decentralized trust and identity accounting, and then the Nexus interest group. So there's a few there. Interest groups are really easy. If you have an idea for one, there's a form you can fill out. And when it gets approved, we'll create a space in the Discord and you can attract your community and have discussions. So the process for creating a SIG is very lightweight. Working groups require a little more formality around it because you need to have some structure around that. And then those are all kind of part of the ways that you can all participate in the MCC. But today we wanted to go over kind of our budget stuff. And we've kind of broken it down into 4 large buckets of activity. And these are in line with the product committee's goals for 2025, which are get more usage, business as usual, governance, and vision. So I'm going to go over get more usage since that's the one where most of our stuff is. And this one is all about how might we attract more dApps users and protocols to Cardano, drive initiatives that bring developers and dApps and users to Cardano for real world applications. Some of the things we're doing, we have 2 really large buckets in the MCC, outreach and education and community grants. In the community grants or the outreach and education, we have our Intersect grants that we've been running. And the things that we're looking at for next year is some stuff around inclusion and accessibility, workshops, local meetups and hackathons, annual members meetings, Intersect membership education, and continuing to support and expand on the community hubs. There's another thing here for creating a new educational membership tier and supplying educational internships. So we can get into more details on that as those details unfold. On the community grant side, we have a number of new product and feature requests that we use to support the builders out there. And of course, it's not directly under the MCC, but since our budget bucket kind of wraps it up, we're including Project Catalyst under the ecosystem innovation. And it should be noted that as part of this Project Catalyst proposal, there's a certain percentage of that budget that's allocated outside of Catalyst itself to experiment and iterate on different innovation ecosystem models. So that's kind of an exciting thing that we can lean into a little bit. And of course, we have marketing. And within there, there's some Cardano marketing initiatives budget, Intersect auditing and oversight for that, and then the Intersect marketing group operations themselves. And then on the business as usual, this is really how might we ensure Cardano remains trustworthy, reliable, and competitive, maintain and enhance Cardano's core properties while improving communication and support for projects. And this is where we kind of threw in all of the operational budgets for this. So we have the grant administration budget, working groups operations, and the working groups currently listed here are the grants, group design, marketing, AMM, community support, and community hubs. And this is really to give working groups a small budget so that they can engage with, if they need experts, they have some funds for that. If they need to pay for vendors to supply anything to allow the working group to get their mission done, they have a small amount of funding there that they can work with. And then there's nothing in governance. There was, but we kind of moved it around because you'll see down here on the out of scope, the civics committee will be doing all of the CIP 1694 and VREP education. And so we did have something in here around that, but since the Civics Committee is going to be handling that, we took that out of what we're presenting here today. And then on the vision side, we have just the outreach and education for Intersect itself. So this is Intersect marketing for Marketing Intersect, and that includes town halls and various events. And then just continuing on what's out of scope. This morning we had a conversation at the ISC, and stipends are going to be set and kind of put in through the ISC and not through the committees themselves. So we took out we did have a small thing around stipends for the committee. And then just notes from other committees that affect the two buckets that we're looking at for the outreach and education and community grants is from the open source committee, there's project support for education, and then for design, community, and strategy and sustainability. And I'm sure Tex will get into some of those as he gets into his presentation later. But at a high level, that's kind of what we have put together so far. We do have much more detailed spreadsheets and different things going on, but not to overwhelm with all those numbers and things, as those are still under flux and conversation. We just wanted to present the high level categories and where we're thinking of investing next year. So at that point, I think I'll pause and open it up for questions, comments, thoughts.
Thank you so much, Nori. We want to open now the stage for questions. If anyone has any questions about the MCC, how they are distributing their topics and their focuses during the budget process, please raise your hand or ask your question with a prefix question in the chat. Nori will happily answer. We also have a few other members of the MCC here. Not sure if they want to hop in to help, but yeah, feel free.
Anybody from the MCC, feel free to jump in at any time. And I'll just kind of throw it out there that Katarina's heading up the grants working group for the MCC, and Matthew is heading up the group design working group.
Thank you very much. Now we have a few members in here. I would like to, Lawrence, I'm going to put you on the grill right now. Do you have any, as part of the budget committee, do you have any questions to ask Nori?
Well, I'm Nori, you may not know this, and no one from the community asked questions, and then I'm asked and had to come in and ask a few challenging questions that we've obviously had, through some of the other suggestions, some of the other sessions we've had. So, if I take one of these, you mentioned things like events along and like hackathons. Are you able to provide any more detailed insight into the types of things, events, and things you'd like to run next year? That the community may be able to get an understanding of, and the scope of these hackathons.
So these are still in the ideation phase, and there's a bit of kind of overlap with the marketing working group as well, as they've thought about different events and things as well. But this is really building on things that the community has said they would like to see. And I think the intent is not to outline at this point a detailed list of what we're actually going to do, but to have some funds available to support this. And what kind of the common pattern that we did last year was to open up a specific category of grants for proposals. And then we create a committee of community members who evaluate those proposals and select the ones they think will best match the goals of that category. And then the funds would be awarded out. So I think the intent is to continue that model. And I'll open it up for proposals from the community on what kinds of hackathons we should have, or workshops or meetups and things like that. But we just wanted to carve out enough space so that this kind of activity can happen.
Okay, thank you. Matthew, I believe you did have your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to throw in my own question. But we do have Simon here from the marketing working group as well. Although he had some audio issues, so I don't know if he was able to speak. But if something marketing working group specifically does come up, he can probably give us some insight there. Yeah. So my question is, the MCC as sort of looking at and understanding and creating sort of a good, what would you say, sort of knowledge between Intersect, core itself, and the wider sort of Cardano ecosystem and community with things like education and outreach and all of that. If there are areas where there's sort of overlap between potentially things like the civics committee and sort of wider ecosystem concerns, or the TSC, or the parameter committee or whatnot, how like involved or how much support do you expect the MCC to be giving those kinds of things, like helping the wider ecosystem connect with other areas? I have no sort of preconceived answer on that, but just wondering, especially with the specific relationship there with the civics committee, if you think there will be overlap or if those will be pretty much distinct.
So
does the question
there's
make sense?
Yeah, I think there's still a period of conversation happening between the different committees. Like we had a line in here previously under governance to create educational opportunities for DREPs. And there was feedback from Lloyd that says civics is totally on top of that, so you don't need to have that in your budget. So those kind of communications happen. So we need to make sure that we're communicating with each other, the different committees. I think the ISC is a perfect forum for that, since all the chairs and secretaries from all the committees are there. And I look forward to having more detailed budget conversations there so that we can see if we're overlapping or not. And some of those processes have already started where different committees are sharing kind of their high level goals like this. The other bits are, we do have Intersect membership education here, as well as community support working group. And some of those are really to help guide the members to the right places they need to be based on their interests or questions or needs. So the MCC will certainly be creating, I don't know what to call it, like a map of content or a directory of everything that's going on within Intersect, which channels to go to in the Discord, where the Git documentation is, how to be involved with different committees. We can definitely use that remit of the MCC to help consolidate and provide information so that we educate the membership sufficiently enough so that they can get to what they need. I don't know if that totally answers your question.
It does, yeah. That's great.
One thing I would be curious about, just from the people here, is there anything you expected to see here that isn't? And have we missed something that we should be considering for the budget for next year?
Very quiet today.
People are
Okay,
indeed a
Nori,
little
I
bit
shall
quiet.
happily jump in with another question then whilst we're waiting for people. So you mentioned marketing and working with the marketing working group. And we know marketing has been looking at a number of events as well. Can you just explain to us where the marketing working group fits within the Intersect committee model, and more specifically the MCC?
So this has been a pretty recent development. The marketing working group spun up and has been very active. They're probably one of the most active working groups in all of Intersect. And they have been doing a lot of planning and thinking about how to do marketing, and have come up with a budget, a very high level plan, as well as some very detailed documentation around what they want to do. In the middle of that, it was kind of recognized that working groups don't submit budgets by themselves. They need to do it through a committee. And it made the most sense for the marketing working group to be under the MCC umbrella for the purpose of presenting the budget. But aside from that, there hasn't been a real strong connect until recently. They've been coming to the MCC meetings, and we have a space for working group updates. So Simon and Nico have been giving those updates. But Simon is here, I think, still, and maybe Nico. But if you guys want to give an update on the marketing side of things and what you're thinking really quick, that might be a really great segue for that.
For that, I would like to invite Simon to be able to come up and give us a little word.
Yeah, if you want, we have a small presentation as well, if I can share the screen.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, as Nori said, we've only recently connected, and it's still I think we're still not like 100% aligned, but there's definitely some common goals, some shared goals that we have, and some overlap as well, which we will have to sort out kind of. Just to have an idea about what the marketing working group is doing, we have I'm sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes, we
Yeah, you
can.
can see it.
Yeah, so we have thought about some goals for 2025. Actually, I think the biggest idea is to increase the transaction volume for obvious reasons. Transaction volume, higher transaction volume means bigger budget for 2026. We try to drive global adoption, steer Cardano's crypto media narrative in a more positive way, enhance our brand positioning, and also highlight our innovative blockchain potential, some of the maybe more innovative and high impact projects and so on. How do we want to achieve those goals is we want to establish strategic partnership, reach around the owl, talk with all those different players in our ecosystem, develop and coordinate a global marketing strategy, a very high level strategy, consult SMEs, experts from within Cardano, but also from without Cardano. So yeah, as I said, reaching out to all those kinds of players and people. And ultimately, we're developing right now the marketing budget for 2025. I mean, we also already have our version 1, but we're also working on a version 2. And our idea is to take 12% of the total Cardano 2025 budget. Some of you may know. The idea behind this is like a common or like an average number that a big company would do. And there is the idea that this is kind of like a community company, and maybe it's not totally accurate, but I think it's a good way to go about it. If you want to see the draft that we have right now, please, I'm going to share the link, or maybe Nico can share the link in the meantime. So you can see what we're doing. And yeah, we're currently revising it. So please feel free to give us feedback, go to the Discord in Intersect and tell us what you think. A little bit more in depth, our budget breakdown is marketing initiatives, 80%, operational budget, 15%, and oversight and auditing, 5%. The marketing initiatives is basically what goes to the community, by reaching out to people. We hope that we get some interest in people trying to market Cardano itself, and they have some ideas. They get down with some proposals and ask for some money, and this is what the majority of the budget is for. The marketing working group operational budget is a small team of people that continuously market Cardano, create a strategy, market Cardano, and then but also help with the marketing initiatives and operations, right? And the oversight and auditing is for Intersect itself. They asked us to include that so they can, take care of oversight and also take care of auditing, which is, I think, is a good thing to do. And our call to action: please join the marketing working group. We need your manpower. We hopefully next year have a budget, and it takes out of the system. The price is gonna drop immensely, but no, that's not really true. We hope that our initiative is gonna increase the price, and we're gonna create something that is worth more than what we take out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. We do have 2 hands raised. First from James Barclay, please ask away.
Hey guys, how you going today? I'm focusing more on Intersect. I mean, Intersect needs membership, and we need membership in the form of individuals, and we need companies, because obviously that's a form of revenue into Intersect. and the more revenue or membership, then that can then be put towards the administration of Intersect instead of having to look at this budget proposal or like look at it within the budget coming out of treasury every year. How are we thinking about that? And like where are we blending the local groups between, are we rebranding local groups to Intersect hubs or Cardano hubs, and just general the thought about pushing, increasing membership in Intersect, both as an individual and companies?
Okay, so yes, absolutely. We are thinking via the MCC. It's the responsibility of the MCC to support, the Intersect's membership drive. So Nick Cook oversees that section for us, and obviously pushing the membership. So the hubs that we've created is something that has worked well this year. We've seen some great response from the community, especially with the annual members meetings where the hubs, especially for me in Japan and Sri Lanka, where the hubs ran the actual AMM for us. And I think the community and the members that have attended the AMMs found value, especially in Tokyo, listening into it from Yuka in his, in his language. That was really worked well. And we do see things like the hubs expanding next year and pushing the hubs and the memberships through the hubs for 2025. Will we rebrand them and rename them? I think they're called the Intersect hubs already. I think they are an extension of Intersect. There are plans as we, once we release the treasury funding to, push more events through them. And we are looking at things like, I think the Budget Committee has mentioned a quarterly review. As part of that quarterly review, we envisage not the Budget Committee making the decision of where and how we perform the reviews, but more coming to the MCC and going to the hubs and the community and asking the community where and how they would like these sessions to take place. We've always seen it as being something that, could be in multiple hub locations, bringing the communities together in different locations, as well as aligning with appropriate events that may be occurring in said countries. So we are hoping that the MCC will be able to support and help us with that along with the hubs. Does that answer your question, James?
Yeah, and just from the budgeting side, obviously, I mean, the local hubs, if they could be self-sufficient in local currencies type thing, that's a good way. And then also looking at businesses and people interested as we grow to support those businesses. Because I think now there's a bit of disjoint of who can I go to for information if I'm a business or wanting to build, or where can I get? And if Intersect's becoming this, then that flow and the budget on that would be, yeah. But it's good. I'm glad to see it's in there, and I've been thinking about that as Intersect revenue.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely, if we think of the evolution of where we see things going, it's not next year, maybe the year after, but it's membership comes in, a percentage of membership may then go to the hubs to support them. Obviously, there's some questions to have around that, around membership that have done really well at the moment. Places like Sri Lanka popping up. I'm sure Vietnam will be another one that blows up very quickly when we launch it. So we just need to be mindful of how we focus and enable the hubs to expand and ultimately run a small business themselves, which I think is a great suggestion, as well as ensuring that we expand Cardano across the world as well.
And along with what Lawrence said, we do have that in our kind of high level budget categories, or events, AMMs, town halls. And one of the primary purposes of the MCC is to enhance membership value. And one of the areas that we're really looking at is how do we enhance value for enterprise members? Because that area isn't growing as fast as we had hoped. And so looking at things like being able to present at an AMM if you are an enterprise member, and other things like that are really good incentives to help drive membership value, but also access to community grants and other participation within Intersect itself. So those are all the things that we're looking at. The things we're budgeting are the things mentioned. And then, of course, the community hubs are a really huge part of that because they're on the ground local and can probably be our voice in these local areas for why Intersect is important and why enterprises should get involved.
Cool.
But along with that, education, hackathons, meetups, workshops, things like that. But a lot of this is just driving towards increasing membership and providing value for those people that are members.
Cool, thank you. Adam, yeah, if you're right, hand raised.
Yeah, I guess my big concern, because probably a lot of other people don't do really fast mental math, but the marketing working group is requesting 2% of the global annual Cardano budget for their operational overhead costs. Can we get any insight into that? Because that is an extremely high number for a single working group to command.
Well, it's 12%, not 2%. But
no, you said your total budget was going to be 12% of the total budget, and then 15% of that 12% was going to be marketing working group operational overhead, which is 1.8% of the global budget, which is just astronomical.
Well, you can go to a budget document, and you can see what we have planned with the 12%. But maybe
I want to know what you're going to do with the 15% of the 12%.
Yeah, we want to build a like our own team for marketing Cardano itself that is like beholden to Cardano, paid by Cardano. That also includes some professional services, and we also included some legal advice. We're not sure about if we're going to get that from Intersect. And the last item really is miscellaneous, and that's it.
Okay. So 2% of the global annual budget, right? Like that's huge when we're talking about 500 million ADA. That's like what, 50, 100 million, not 100 million, like 10 million ADA, something like that.
10 million.
Yeah, well, 10 million ADA.
We did those calculations with ADA being at 33 cents. And
I'm talking about ADA, not US dollars. 10 million ADA is 3 million US dollars at 33 cents. Like that's a crazy high amount for a single working group to need for operational budget for 1 year.
Well,
this does not sound like rational, reasonable expenditures for operations.
Okay, for 33 cents, the budget was $2 million. And that was so 13, a team of 13 people. And then in addition to professional services and another, I think, 500,000 was miscellaneous. Well, 400,000 was miscellaneous.
Okay, I just want to try and bring this to a halt. Thank you for raising this, Adam. I had noticed I was trying to obviously going to follow up afterwards, but can we take a separate session, please, with the marketing and the MCC? That hasn't come through as part of the budget asked to us in that level of detail, especially set up, hiring a team, legal, etc. So that I'm not sure we was fully aware of that. So if we could just park that for the time being, and if Nori, if you could, and Simon, if you could just set up a session with myself. I'm happy to jump in an MCC if I need to, just so we can walk through that marketing proposal in a lot more detail, please.
Yes, absolutely. We're waiting to get to talk about this for sure. Let's do that.
Cool, thank you. Cool. All right. So that was a good question to catch by Adam there. So well done. Matthew, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just on the question about Intersect education and marketing, I guess, and sort of outcomes for Intersect versus outcomes for Cardano. My understanding is that all sort of quarterly review sessions that we have planned for these, that all expenditure is to be justified directly in terms of the value for Cardano. And so if basically we should expect there not to be any divergence between a sort of like money being allocated and outcomes for Intersect that don't directly affect and aren't directly justified in terms of the value they provide to Cardano as a whole. So just to be sort of clear about that. If I don't know all the details around exactly how that'll be managed, but just to make that distinction clear. Yeah, I don't know if Lawrence or you want to add anything on that.
Not at the moment, no. Sorry. I don't think nothing at the top of my head, Matthew. Next, we'll move on to the, sorry, is there any additional questions there, Matthew, or should we move on to the next one? Sorry.
No, yeah, I just wanted to throw in a clarifying comment there. Yeah, no
Yeah.
independent question.
Cool, thank you. If I pronounce it correctly, Nico Dimas.
Yeah, it's Nicodemus. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm the marketing working group's lead. Pleasure to speak with you all. Really appreciate Simone giving the presentation and filling the questions from Adam Dean. Really wish Adam Dean had stuck around so we could talk about this a little bit longer. But I instead of focusing on the 12%, I do want to, or the 2% or whatever, I do want to make it clear that this is a marketing working group budget draft. We are very much open to community feedback. We have a meeting on Friday with the Rare Evo team. Because we're trying to socialize our budgeting process. So everyone here is invited to that meeting. Everyone here is invited to review and harshly criticize our proposal because we are in the process of revising it. So we're very happy and very welcoming to any feedback you all may have. And let's see about setting up a meeting sometime, Lawrence and Simone, so we can go through the proposal with a fine-tooth comb and talk about something that might be like extremely feasible so that we can get it passed by the DREPs and hopefully make everyone a lot of money. So that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Pedro?
Hey, everyone. Yeah, just wanted to jump in and speaking as a member and as someone that has just been 3 days marketing Cardano in a real world event with 70,000 attendees, being approached by people asking me, what's Web3, why Cardano, those kinds of situations. I feel it's very important to not distinguish, but to clarify a bit the marketing working group's mission. Cardano mostly being seen, I think we can see it mostly as infrastructure, where apps come to build on. To market just the Cardano chain is one thing, and to help and flow value to all the projects building on Cardano is a different, almost a different initiative. So I think Simon touched a bit on both, but I really want to encourage the second one, so flowing value to consult with apps. I'm also part of the open source office, open source committee, and we do have an open source office initiative there to consult with projects on matters of open source. But it would be great to see the open source working group extending support for all apps building on Cardano so that we can focus, especially because if we want adoption, that's going to be achieved by end users, and the people that are relating to end users are the apps building on Cardano. So yeah, I'd really like to see the focus of the the marketing working group being supporting apps, so to strengthen the marketing of all the apps on Cardano. Cheers.
Cool, thank you. All right. Any other
Lovely,
questions?
Les. That concludes the questions, I believe. Oh, John Gibson, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, sorry guys, just a quick one. Just relating to the MCC giving out grants. I'm just curious, has the MCC given out grants? And if so, I would imagine that there's like a legal structure or a contract to be signed in some way with the recipients. I'm just wondering, is that legal structure all completely worked out? And is that the same as what's going to be used whenever the marketing working group starts to distribute funds? Will they be using that same sort of legal contract structure? It's just a question around that. Thanks.
Does somebody want to talk about core services in relation to that?
I'm happy to jump in. Yeah. Intersect has gone through a grants process, yes, but they're slightly different. I just would like to differentiate it from Catalyst a little bit. So our grants be slightly different to Catalyst. We don't want to replicate it, and as you see on here, Catalyst grants are coming through the MCC as part of our budget process, but that is separate as well from Intersect. So yes, our core services team. So on the budget committee website. On knowledge base, sorry, there is a full process on how a committee can manage a budget, which includes grants and contracts. So should a grant be pushed out from Intersect, be it any of the committees, then yes, there will be a request, a business requirement, from want of a better term, from the committee, and that will be passed to the core services team. Procurement will be picking it up, and then it will be going through. If you think of the Gemma's grant processes, she's been doing a very similar process to how it was ran this year. So published online, the feedback received, reviewed by an agreed group of members and/or community, taken to the MCC for ratification and approvals. So that process will fundamentally be the same, but ran from our core services team for 2025.
And I'll just add that Gemma is currently preparing a retrospective of the grants program in 2024. So we should be able to share that with the community to see what happened, what the outcomes were, and how the grants program did in 2024.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Laura.
We did receive a question on the chat by MN Ferry, but it is once again related to the marketing working group. MN, as Lawrence mentioned quite a while ago, let's try to have a session dedicated to the marketing working group together with the MCC, as we are time constricted here. We're reaching the 50-minute mark past the start of the session. And we still need to welcome the open source committee here to do their presentation, answer questions about anyone and for anyone and about anything. So yeah, please come to the marketing working group meetings. Nicodemus is mentioning and inviting everyone to participate. Thank you, Nori. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Lawrence. And for anyone who asks any questions, I want to move over to Tex now. Tex, are you there?
Right here, yeah.
Amazing. Could you
Alrighty.
please share your screen?
Sure thing. Let's do just a second. Slight technical issue, I apologize. Okay. So I'm Tex. I'm the secretary for the open source committee. I'm also the open source program manager here at Intersect. So just in case there's any who aren't aware of who I am, what I do, those are honestly only just a small portion of things that I do around the community. You may see me elsewhere. But again, this would be the primary focus where I sit here is open source and the open source committee from the secretary perspective. We do have Lucas here. Lucas is the chair. I believe we have Sebastian as well. So those are two sitting members from the committee. And so they may hop in here to help me answer any of the questions, but I'll run through the presentation. Realistically, it's pretty short and sweet, but let's get into it. So basically, we've put together what our budget proposal is via community input. We've consistently shown where we like to get input from the community as far as what's working, what's not working, and what's necessary. So really listening, not so much to, let's say, just everything that's going on. That's a part of it, but more specifically listening to the developers themselves. So we'll have some updates that go on our Gitbook page here, but the goal is to empower the open source contributions and show Cardano as a spotlight Cardano and the open source development throughout the open source communities here. So this will, we're able to get funding for everything that we're asking for. It's going to enable a wide range of initiatives that we're looking for that are designed to not only promote, but also sustain the open source development within the Cardano ecosystem. The plan is to really focus on that sustainability piece here, where we can get the system flowing in a cyclical motion, if you will. So as we spend what would be funds allocated to the committee and Intersect from the treasury, it would be focused on things that are going to put back into the treasury to keep that in a self-perpetuating model, if you will. So we've had this reviewed. I want to say there's even been some additional peer review, more so than just the open source committee themselves. And we did also tie these to the goals from product as well here. These, of course, being get more usage, business as usual, vision, and governance. And forgive me for how small it is on the next screen, but I've just got those first three letters there. So what we're looking at doing here is we would love to initiate a maintainer retainer program. So as part of the decentralization of Cardano's development, we'd like to get developers from the community to actually be able to move up to that maintainer level. And so what this does is this allows us to compensate those maintainers to actually work with the current core maintainers in a method of hopefully transitioning from specifically being who's maintained the project before to also including or becoming fully community maintainers. As far as the core operations, we still, of course, do need to store and manage the repositories, make sure that we have effective teams. We have the monitoring of the development here through Bitergia, one of our strategic partners. We're also looking to, if we have the opportunity to bring additional community members in to support this future development, that can be through the developer advocate program, potentially as direct staff, or even in certain manners through our project support services, should any projects be accepted through the project incubation process. There is a core support team, the security maintenance 24/7. Basically, if you've been around when it comes down to a maintainership piece, or if something is an issue and breaks, it really needs to be fixed right away. So this allows us to at least have the frontline issues that can be easily fixed, usually in 24 to 48 hours or no more than a week. We have a team that's specifically dedicated and basically on call to answer those requests. When we dive into project support services a little bit more in detail, this focuses on a lot of different tenets of what different open source projects may have or have a need for. So making sure that they can align with, they have and can align with any type of governance that may exist out there. In this case, we're working on increasing the robust value of Intersect governance for core Cardano, or rather call it Cardano governance in general, and setting that as a framework where projects feel comfortable to align to it, and kind of showing them through that process there. We're always open to changes, and that's something that we discuss in the open source committee. Open source strategy and sustainability, that's that key tenet that's really going to follow through a lot of everything that we do. We've also got some partners or affiliations, if you will. Partnership hasn't been solidified on these things as of yet, but the hope would be to do so by finding legal consultants, if you will, just to kind of double check and make sure that the different things that we set forth as governance, such as the open source licenses, that's still within the bounds of legality here. We do want to build the community in terms of the projects that are accepted or that are building and supporting Cardano. So that's just some more of the details on what that project support services should bring. Specific from the committee, committee members brought forth the Google Summer of Code. If you guys are not familiar with that, I do have the link included in the slides here. But basically, we'd like to run an equivalent to that specifically for focus on Cardano. Does include a form of stipend that we would want to have open to pretty much anybody. Anybody that would qualify for that program. But since there is, in some cases, I wouldn't necessarily call it a detractor, but a lack of understanding when it comes to like writing in Haskell and things like that, we'd love the opportunity to get people more involved and give them a little bit of an accelerated learning curve, if you can, or if you will, to bring them up to speed. Moving forward, we have our community integration and events. This would be specifically under the open source office. And basically, although it's a committee budget, the committee and the open source office work really, really closely together. And there's a lot of things that we as the open source office can do by attending these different events, putting the open source committee on spotlight and putting open source development for Cardano on spotlight, more importantly. We also have it in here for a code forest model. This is really generalized, so it's at a high level for now. It's bounties for core Cardano and other projects. So anybody that is needing to get smart contracts out there that's having any type of break that they're not quite sure how to fix or don't have the time or resources to fix, we want to be able to extend that to the community and again, really increase the community engagement regardless of what the project is. So whether that's specific to core or a project that supports or improves upon the core, I want to open up those opportunities here. And then it was also mentioned by the OSC members that they would like to be attending some events as well to help support not only advocating for Cardano and the open source development, but for Intersect as well. And so there is a proposal that we can cover some of those costs for them to attend their local events also. It's a little bit of a repeat. It goes into a little bit more detail. I've shared the slides here, so I won't read everything off in this case. But this should give you a little bit more detail than just the high level piece. We do have a service catalog for the project support services. I've shared that. And we actually also have a survey out. It's in the most recent development report. And I believe we're going to mention that again this week as well. In case you haven't seen it, basically we are asking projects to submit to that form. Although it's not a service that we are directly agreeing to provide right now, it gives us a lot of information as to what level of support these different projects are looking for. And it gives us an opportunity to kind of forecast and see what's going to be necessary for us to start looking at how we add projects into the fold as it applies to core Cardano. So any support there is very great, graciously accepted. Again, I just broke it up in 2 slides. Still want this to be readable here. But the goal is again, this self-perpetuating model. We want everything to feed back into a continuous development cycle here. I don't know. We'll take any questions that you guys might have here. But in the slides, again, we do have our Gitbook pages that are linked. We have our X account, which for pretty much anything and everything that is new coming out, you can always kind of catch up there. And then if there are any questions that maybe go beyond the bounds or that you want to talk about in more detail other than this presentation, you can always send us an email, oso@intersectmbo.org.
Thank you so much, Tex. I would like to ask you, is it possible that you share this presentation link here in the chat with everyone else?
I did before I presented, yes.
Oh, here it is. Sorry, couldn't find it right here.
They're all going to be on the budget knowledge base as well, for everyone to read as a central point as well.
Thank you so much. Now, Tex, that is an absolutely scary amount of tabs you have on your computer. I would like to invite, this is not much of a question, but I would like to invite Pedro, as he is here as also an OSC member. And I would like to ask him a question as part of a community member, not much related to the budget, but also related to the budget. Pedro, as one of the newest elected members, how have you seen, what's your view on the current development of the budget that was designed and asked for by the OSC so far, since before, during the elections, and now that you are currently a member? What is different?
Firstly, everyone just calls me Lucas. It's a bit odd if you call me Pedro. But you asking what's my view on the budget or
current budget? Yes. Did you notice any changes since before the election process that recently happened, before you were a committee member, and now?
Well, I can't really speak to that much because it wasn't in my radar so much. But what I can say is from here, as like even if you go through our Git, I'm still being in speeding up to things. But I feel like what we've presented here is a nice span of initiatives that are going to help open source across the ecosystem, and a bit like I was speaking to the marketing group just now, to reach out to reach out to the real world, to support projects internally. So there's a bit of everything, and I'm looking forward to be a part of this and to help wherever I can.
Thank you so much. I now want to open the floor for community members to ask any questions they might have. Please raise your hand if you want to speak. And if not, feel free to paste your message in your question in the chat, followed by the prefix question, so we are able to read it out loud.
If no one asks a question, I get to answer one.
Well, there's one in the chat here from Marcel. Marcel, the link for the project support services survey that's in the development reports. There should be another one that goes out tomorrow, and the most recent copy from last week is on the Intersect website as well.
Thank you very much, Tex. Now, I did see a hand pop up. Matthew.
I was just going to also flag Marcel's question, so I
Ah,
don't have one more.
gotcha. Now, Lawrence, go ahead.
Okay, so Tex, would you mind resharing your list of things that you were going to do, please, just to centralize us on your scope for 2025? So just looking at these, obviously you've got things that you'd like to do, and again you've mentioned that beautiful word events. So the third from the bottom. Now we've just seen the MCC. So for the community's benefits, what's the difference between your events versus the events being planned through the MCC?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's actually been some discussion that I've had with the MCC on this as well, or I should say that we have had, right? But mainly that goes through me as the secretary to do that cross-committee collaboration there. So what we're talking about by events is events that are specific to open source. The marketing of Intersect is a byproduct, right? It's just something that happens. The events themselves are designed to draw people into the open source development and how we improve and continue to expand that specific part of the community, not so much the overall Cardano or Intersect community itself, right? So there's more of a focus towards open source development. The discussions that we've had include that MCC may have some overview or oversight from that particular bucket of the budget, but the current standing is that the proposal for this type of events that we would either attend or potentially host, which that's not yet developed, is specific to the OSO and OSC initiatives, with not anything to do with building specifically membership and community.
Okay, so should the MCC host an event similar, would you consider aligning one of your hackathons or one of your OSO events with the MCC, and thus for better for the community?
As it makes sense to hold a joint event, yes. Those details would be worked out accordingly. Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, there's no more hands. I'll get another question for you. So you've mentioned security 24/7 maintenance support, level 1, 2 support for Cardano Core. Could you explain more about what that means and what benefit that would have for the community?
Absolutely. So, of course, we have a lot of developers that are involved in terms of things like the hard fork working group and a lot of our core teams that are working on that functional development. But there are things that can break when we're not looking, right, or when we don't have the time to devote that immediate attention to it. There's usually a lot of conversation that builds, but that's more towards, let's say, the governance action or larger decisions. So this is fixing those immediate breaks in the chain that prevent future work to be remedied in usually a 24 to 48 hour period here. That's that level 1 and level 2 support. There are additional levels to this, but right now we're just focused on that initial support of what's necessary. This security team would be overseen by the Security Council, which operates on its own. That's actually recently updated on the Technical Steering Committee page. But yeah, it's managing immediate support to get things fixed and get the blockchain back working here, as opposed to having a discussion about, do we need a larger governance action or do we need to completely go a different direction with the development?
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have a few other messages. Oh, we have a question from Kenrick. He asked, do you define as layer 1 and layer 2 in regards to emergency support?
Yes.
That's your answer, Kenrick.
So,
Thank you so much.
Good in-depth.
Yes, the
response there.
24/7 here is the indication of the emergency support here. So I apologize, and I can clarify that or rewrite that as need be.
Now we're set. Thank you. Do you have any other questions from the community? If not, we are going to wrap this session up. Apparently not. So
Right.
let's wrap it up. Lawrence?
So look, yeah, I'd just like to thank Nori and Tex for presenting today. And if you can send me the decks to make sure we have them, we put them on the website. I'd like to thank all the participants for joining and adding and providing your questions. It's already useful. There will be more, so please look at the Loom Up board for the budget committee that we've created. There'll be a number of sessions we're setting up. It's not all about the budget, but it is about the committees, providing their value for 2025. So please, look on now, multiple times, multiple opportunities, and yeah, join, ask questions. If not, Discord and any other channel you need to get one of us. Happy to supply any questions. So thank you very much for everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Don't forget to register for the next few sessions that we are going to have. Simo has just pasted the link in the chat for everyone to see. I do want to propose, Simo, Lawrence, let's think of scheduling a session just for the marketing working group and the MCC together. Would be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I've got the action. I'm going to, I was pinging whilst we were in the meeting. I'm going to set up a session, first of all, to really understand it and grill them. And then, absolutely, when it's appropriate, I'll get them ready for the community.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone else, for coming, for listening, and for asking your questions. We really appreciate your time and the patience for having us talk our ears off.